What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Inside Arkansas Football Postgame Report Card presented by SARACEN. I'm Andrew Ellis. I'm joined by my right-hand man, Curtis Wilkerson. And, boy, we are thrilled to be here working on a Sunday to recap Arkansas's 56-13 loss against Notre Dame. We had a night to sleep on it. You guys have had a night to drink your sorrows away. I don't know if we feel any better about our lives or about the performance, but we're here on Sunday morning to talk about it. We're also going to get into our accountability session, which we've now combined into two things here, our report card, our accountability session. And we have now, again, we processed it a little bit. We're going to take a little bit of a closer look. And spoiler, not going to be a ton of great grades going on here, but Sunday mornings are usually our time to kind of take a little bit of a closer look at the game, dissect things a little bit, and really get into the football. We've given our emotional reaction. We've talked a lot about the big picture stuff of the program and what this means and all that. This show is usually where we really look at what happened on the field. The thing that sucks about it this time is what happened on the field is something that I think everyone wants to forget as soon as possible. So once we're done here, we'll move on. We'll never talk about it again. But Curtis, how are we doing on this beautiful Sunday morning? Have you got your bearings about you? Do you feel better about the world?
Well, no, not really. It's no sooner than you hit record. I tried to get a last-second swig of my energy drink, and it went down the wrong pipe. Yeah. So I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to rally before the intro was over, but I did. And so I think that's a good omen. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like the real accountability is we don't get to choose that. It's whether or not the board of trustees or, your athletic director, is he going to hold anybody accountable for what just took place? And we've got our eyes on the socials and the noties and everything as we record, because we really have no idea what's going to happen here. And yeah, the report cards are going to be ugly, but we are going to do it. We are going to talk about it, because the truth is we're to this point here where we're just kind of waiting with bated breath to see who, if anyone, gets fired 5 games into the season. And it's because of the product on the field in a lot of ways, especially on Saturday. So why are we here? Well, we're getting ready to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. We can talk about it. We will. So we're going to hop right into it, Curtis, with the quarterback position, the way that we always do start this thing off. So I'm going to let you go first, but you look at Taylon Green, 17 of 32 for 207 yards. Not a crazy, egregious stat line, although 53% completion percentage, a lot closer to, the years past Taylon than this new and improved hybrid Taylon. 17 of 32, does not throw a touchdown, throws the 1 interception late. Did lead Arkansas in rushing, 10 rushes, 81 yards. It's funny. I talked to some Notre Dame fans last night who were like just really impressed with Taylor. They were just like, "Oh man, that quarterback's good though, man. He's athletic, long." I don't know if this is maybe their first time, or maybe they thought that was like the best game he's ever played. We watch him every week, and we kind of know what to expect and have high expectations. I thought that was the worst game he's played this year overall. And so I was kind of like annoyed at him, but it was funny to hear that from a Notre Dame perspective of like, they were like, "Oh yeah, that quarterback, he looks good." PFF also didn't grade him super harshly, but I assume you're going to have a little bit lower grade than PFF. What did you think of QB1's performance yesterday, Curtis?
D. I agree that it was the worst game that he's played this season. We had some last year that were doozies, but yeah, this was an uncharacteristically poor performance for Taylon relative to what he's shown us this year. And he's kind of set his own standard with the way he's been playing, and he fell far, far below that. Now, he didn't get a whole hell of a lot of help. Like the wide receivers, more drops than typical from what we've seen there. Offensive line, probably their worst performance of the season as well. So I take those things into account too. But at the end of the day, your only pathway to winning this football game or even keeping it competitive really was Taylon Green doing Taylon Green things. Like, he's always been kind of that great equalizer in terms of the guy who could keep you in a game if maybe you don't deserve to be otherwise, or if you have a horrible defense or whatever. And he's kind of proven to be that guy throughout the course of the season. Hell, beforehand, and I know we'll talk about the accountability stuff briefly. Another spoiler alert, challenges were not accepted, but I challenged Taylon Green to go from being the guy who can keep you in a game to being the guy who can win you a game. And it was pretty clear right away that was just not the mindset that he was in this one particularly. I thought that he looked a little bit rattled out there at times, thought he was forcing some things at times. And I get it. There's other factors that go into that with the guys who he's out there on the field with. But no, I wasn't very impressed with him. I thought he looked a lot closer to last season's Taylon Green than he did this season's Taylon Green. And with the state of where this football team is at, with the defense, it's just Swiss cheese out there. And that's probably putting it mildly. And you've just got a very razor thin margin of error if you're Taylon as the quarterback of this football team if you're going to have success with this offense, which had its worst overall performance of the year. They're doing this thing now where through 3 games, they've scored 10 total points in the second half of football games now. It was rough, and he couldn't even get anything going on Notre Dame's backups late in the game when they kept him in there. So, man, like I love me some Talon. I think he's been a bright spot in what's been a frustrating season so far, but I don't think that was the case yesterday. And if you're QB1 and, the quote unquote superstar on a football team that is playing at home in front of your home fans, for the first time in several weeks there, and you've got this, you're on ABC and you got Notre Dame in town, the 10th largest crowd in program history or whatever, you got to be ready to roll, man. And he just wasn't. The best drive that Arkansas had was turn around and handing the football off. The only touchdown that they had came from a damn offensive lineman. We were looking at the prop bets of, is Taylor going to get, 3 passing touchdowns and a rushing? Yeah. Oh yeah. It feels like he's probably good for that. They scored 28 points in the first half against every opponent they played. None of that happened. It was a complete failure from top to bottom. And unfortunately, Taylor was a part of that. So yeah, I settled on a D, man.
Yeah, I agree with your assessment there. I agree with everything you said. I actually am going to go even lower. Usually I'm like a little bit more optimistic than you. I'm going to go D-, and for a couple of reasons here. One, again, I agree with your assessment, and it may sound harsh, but as always, we grade this thing on each guy's individual curve. We personally think Taylor Green is good. You guys think Taylor Green is good. Some of you think that Taylor should be like a Heisman type of guy. And I'm not saying we hold him to a Johnny Manziel, Cam Newton standard, but we hold him to a high standard. And so when you have a game like yesterday that really falls short of that, we're gonna give our opinion on that, and we're gonna be honest about that. You mentioned that last year's Taylor and seeing some flashes of that. I think when you go into a matchup like this where everyone kind of knows every single week Arkansas's offense is going to have to carry them. If they're going to win, they're going to be competitive. It's going to have to go through the offense. We know this defense is not just going to be a hold you to 10, 13 points type of team. And so that puts a lot of pressure, and you just want to see your quarterback, your leader, look prepared and look ready for that challenge. I think the thing that disappointed me the most about Taylor yesterday is the just kind of like lackadaisical attitude. Like I never saw like an intense focus. I never saw a like bunch of slapping guys on the ass and, hey, come on, guys, let's get this thing going. Let's get this. Let's come on. And you see that sometimes, like even just when teams are losing and they're coming back from behind and they're putting together a garbage time drive, you can kind of see the quarterback and the team and the play caller. They're all trying to just like find a rhythm and at least go out on a good note. And, hey, all right, let's get this thing going. I thought Taylor got worse as the game went on, which, it got more lopsided as the game went on. So maybe it's just, hey, we're losing, I'm checked out. I thought that was really what was disappointing to me is I felt like Taylor for the first time really, and maybe I'm tripping. I think it's the first time in his Razorback career I can remember him just kind of quitting on the field. Quitting is maybe a harsh term here. It's 4th and 7. You take a snap and you run around and then you run out of bounds. And, he wasn't going to make a play there. He wasn't going to do anything crazy. He had defenders coming, but it's like, I feel like running out of bounds and just opting to try not to make a play. And I mean, you're down by 100. So what happens if you throw one into double coverage and it gets picked off? That would actually give you better field position, actually. I thought that was kind of telling.
To your point real quick about that, just to add to that, game 1, when Arkansas was up by 100, we were almost critical of Taylor. Remember when he dove for the first down marker and took that big hit? And we were like, bro, why are you doing that? And Sam Pittman was even asked about it, and he was like, no, it's competitor. We want that. That's what we're looking for. The direct polar opposite of that just a few weeks later. That's a really good point that you brought up there.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of a like, and again, it's like I'm not trying to like, say we should throw him in jail for that, but it's like those are little red flags that you see that you're like, wait a minute, I don't like that. There was another play, and you mentioned him kind of throwing himself in harm's way, which look, he ran the ball for 81 yards. The dude carries a very big workload for Arkansas. So I'm not saying, hey, he should be, just sticking his neck in there and taking these hits crazy. But there was another play. And by the way, he had 81 rushing yards. A lot of them, a good chunk of them, one came on a huge long run. What was that long run he had? He had a longer run of 54, which was awesome. And then the other yards there came on some scrambles, a lot of which came on 3rd and 28 or 3rd and 22, where he runs for 15 yards. But it's like that was not a consequential play in the game. Another reason I'm grading him a little bit lower is because one thing I think I've noticed, and I think the theme that's been going on with this offense is teams adjust to them. teams are so much better against Arkansas's offense in the second half than they are in the first. It seems like they kind of, once they see it for a while, they can figure it out. And you kind of are waiting for Arkansas to have those adjustments, which really that's more of a by Petrino issue. I'm not asking Talon to schematically be thinking of some of this stuff. But I think outside of, you mentioned the best drive they had running the ball, which is true. They ran the ball with Mike Washington, did some good stuff, ran the ball with Shaq McCroy inside the 5 to get the touchdown. They also, Talon's best throw of the day came on the opening drive. And it was a throw to Omega Blake in the middle of the field, layered it perfectly between a linebacker safety. And I was just like, man, that is a case right there of a guy confident, cool, knows exactly where to go with the football, makes the throw, cool. That was on the opening drive of the game, which is where we see by Petrino's quarterbacks, by Petrino's offenses typically have all those answers of where to go with the football. They know exactly what they're doing, and they look pretty good doing it. Once you kind of ran out of that game script, once you ran out of those first 10 to 12 plays of knowing exactly what you're doing, and you started really having to just react in real time and make plays as they come to you, Talon looked lost out there, man. And that's where, going back to your point of comparing him to last year's Talon, that's where I kind of wonder, okay, he's clearly better. He's a better player than he was last year. There's no doubt about that, I don't think. But, is there really this, substantial evolution that's going on where he's really way ahead mentally and he just really has a way better grasp of the X's and O's and the scheme, and he really knows what there's really a bunch of adjustments being made in real time? Is the accuracy night and day better? It's not that he's not better in all these areas. I just don't see this completely different guy. And I think when he was putting up 500 yards and 8 touchdowns against bad opponents, it was easy to compare the numbers and say, well, his numbers are way better across the board. It's now it's back-to-back weeks where I think he's got 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Hasn't been super efficient, has been under 60% as a completion percentage. Just kind of looks a lot closer to that guy last year that is a good, dangerous player that can, move the ball and be effective. I just don't know if he's necessarily this elite quarterback in college football that can go toe-to-toe with the best. I think he might be a can crusher. And I think this Arkansas offense might be a can crusher, which, there's nothing wrong with crushing cans, but I think it gives false confidence because, Arkansas, if you give them a bad defense, they can literally put up 100 points. And that's not an exaggeration. And Talon can do some things that, he has a higher ceiling in a given game than, pretty much anyone, because when he's facing a matchup that he likes, he can really take advantage of it. To your point about in garbage time against Alabama A&M, he's still racking up those yardages. And it's I'm not saying he's doing it knowing, he's sitting there thinking, I know I'm not going to be able to do this against Notre Dame, but it's it kind of is unfortunate because you put up such crazy numbers early on and set that bar so high. And of course, we don't expect you to put up those numbers against Notre Dame, against Tennessee and all that. But for it to be such a vast difference of you go from a 90% completion percentage guy with 5 touchdowns to a 50% guy with 0, basically as soon as you face real competition, it's not what you want to see as a Razorback fan. And so I came away from yesterday's game not mad at Talon, not even thinking he's to blame by any stretch, but it's just a disappointing microcosm of just where it's at, where he's still good, he's still a good player, he's dangerous. I just don't think he's this next level guy that's really taken his game to way different heights than he was at last year. I think he's more or less the same guy, which is a very fun guy to watch. Did you have anything else to add on Talon before we go to the running backs?
Well, no, I just, it's just crazy that these were conversations that we were having throughout the course of summer and camp that we were just getting pounded for, being negative and, haters or whatever. And, man, it just turns out that a lot of it's true. So I guess it's just kind of where we're at here. But, yeah. And the other thing with Talon, you mentioned the can crushers and everything like this. People were trying to tell us all week that Notre Dame was going to be one of those cans.
Yeah.
And we were trying to provide the context. If you look at the raw numbers, where they rank nationally and everything like that, defensively, yeah, it's not where they were before. But you got to consider who they were playing there. I mean, it's a couple college football playoff caliber teams, and they were better. Sam Pittman even admitted, he flat out said actually in his press conference, they were a lot better in coverage than he expected them to be. They were still without their All-American corner in this game, and Arkansas wasn't able to take advantage of it at all there. So, frustrating all around from the offense. I know we'll get into the rest of them here. And it kind of starts with the quarterback in most situations. So is what it is. Sorry, man. There will be better days for Talon Green on the Inside Arkansas report card.
There will, and he'll have much better games as a Razorback. I mean, I'm sure, and we'll see what the rest of the season looks like in the rest of everything around him. But
Good Lord, yeah.
he's still a guy that, like, just play to play, drive to drive, game to game, anything's possible. And I think that's why he's fun to watch, and that's why it's fun to let your imagination run wild of what he can do. I just don't know if we're necessarily going to see some of that as consistently against the good teams. Onto the running back position. So we give the quarterback D minus. Running backs, I'm inclined to grade them better than Talon, because I don't think they were worse than Talon. But I also, I love to say this, Curtis. I will not be telling my grandkids about Arkansas's running back performance against Notre Dame. You look at the numbers: Mike Washington, 15 for 63, just over 4 yards a carry. Braylon Russell, very similar carries. He had 3 carries.
He started, by the way.
He did start, and he got some of those carries, I think, right off the bat. He had 4 carries for 47 yards last week, and everyone cried and, said, hey, we need to see more. Sam Pittman said, yes, we know. We have to give him more. He gets 3 carries in this game. He did get a pass attempt that was dropped, although I don't think he's going to convert on that play either. Yeah. He ends up with 3 for 15. Are we counting
yes.
Jaquan Roquoy as a running back? 1 carry,
he was lined up as a running back. We're counting it, damn it.
He was in the backfield. So, honestly, he's maybe raising this grade up. I just go C minus, Curtis. Like, I don't have any groundbreaking opinion of, like, I thought Mike Washington, his angles, I just didn't. I really don't. I didn't think they were bad. I didn't think they were good. I thought they were just kind of out there. And, Mike Washington had a couple good runs here and there. And, like, I thought he ran hard, ran okay. What we've learned about this offense is that it's not very dependent on the running backs. Like, they do not put a ton on these running backs of, like, hey, we're going to give Braylon 15 carries, Mike 15 carries, and we're just going to let that two-handed monster work. You have basically 17 touches total between those two guys for the entire game. Some of which were even when the game was out of hand. So it's like there really just wasn't a big impact on this game for running back. So I go C minus.
Yeah, I'm going D minus. I'm going to grade them harsher than I graded Talon, because Talon Green had half as many carries as everybody else combined, and he had more yards. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. That one drive looked really, really good. And it was at that point where I was thinking, okay, Arkansas might actually be onto something here in the shootout department, because it looked like Notre Dame had no answer for it. Well, they did. They just made a couple little adjustments there, and they were fine. But at the end of the day, like Mike Washington, we were talking about it beforehand. That's Aggie Mike. It's New Mexico State Mike, 4.2 yards per carry. It's not going to get it done, especially when you have that long of 21. So he was 14 for 42, the rest of the way. Outside of that one, that's not going to get it done, man. I understand it's not all on him, but I continue to feel like we've got a little bit of boom or bust here. Like, he gets met in the backfield a lot, right in the hole a lot. And, then he'll pop one off for 15 or 20, and they just don't have that consistent ability. And you've mentioned that a lot, of just being able to run it between the tackles, pick up 4 or 5, and, maybe nickel and dime teams down the field. And Braylon Russell is just a non-factor on this football team at this point. Like, he got another opportunity after, what happened for whatever reason, that he wasn't getting more carries. Sam Pittman publicly acknowledges it on Monday of this week after the Memphis game of, like, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, we got to go back and look at that, whatever. Yeah, the whole snafu with his dad's freaking out, losing his shit on DJ Williams. And then he gets an opportunity to start, and you get 3 carries, you drop a pass, and then that's it. See you later. So what are we supposed to take from that at this point? You know what I mean? And maybe they figure some things out after the bye week. I don't know, but I continue to look at this team, and I see Talon Green lead them in rushing every single game. And a lot of that's from a standpoint of scrambling or improvising or whatever, making something out of nothing. And I look at him handing the ball to these running backs, and it's 18 carries for 88 yards between or 78 yards, between the two main guys there. And that's all you have. And I just don't think that's good enough. And if you can't establish the run with your running backs in the SEC, if you're in a situation where you're on the goal line and you have to get cute like Ole Miss or whoever, and put your 355-pound, offensive tackle in there to get across the damn goal line, what are we doing here? Like, that was cool. I love a big man touchdown, but I'm underwhelmed with this. And like, I love that, the occasional flash here and there, or we'll break out a big 50-yard run against a dog shit team or something, but you're not playing any more of those the rest of the season. So I've been very underwhelmed and underimpressed with the running game. So yeah, I'm a little bit harsher on them, and I don't feel bad about it.
Yeah, you mentioned the Mike Washington boomer bust kind of factor to him. pretty much every game this year, you can do the thing where you say, all right, he had, X amount of carries for X amount of yards. Oh, but he had a 36-yard run. So if you take away that 36-yard run, he was 10 for 26 or whatever. Like I remember in the Ole Miss game, that was kind of a thing. He had a huge 50-yard run right off the bat. And then after that, you kind of look at his numbers and you're like, all right, not horrible numbers, but outside of that one run, you were pretty ineffective. And I think that's a consistent theme. And I don't think it's not all his fault, but it's also not a coincidence. You know what I mean? Exactly. I think it's just a thing that consistently happens and just kind of what we need to expect with this run game.
Yeah, you mentioned that with Ole Miss. He was 7 carries for 12 yards against Memphis until that final drive where he got it going. And then he had the one drive in this game where he had it going. And there was just pretty much nothing outside of that. And you're right. Like there's other things going into it. We'll talk about the offensive line in a minute, but just, based on what we were sold throughout the course of fall camp and everything, it's not just not piling on Mike Washington. I'm just talking about this rushing attack in general that doesn't involve Taylon Green. We were looking at saying, could this be the best rushing attack in the country? Could they lead the SEC in rushing? And boy, you better be glad you got a mobile quarterback because the running backs aren't getting it done, man.
Yeah. You just, you know what, Curtis? You just can't count on this Razorback run game. You know what you can count on though, Curtis. You can count on OZK Insurance. Nobody wants to deal with the hassle of shopping around, and that's why I use and recommend OZK Insurance. They're based right here in Arkansas, and they shop multiple carriers to find the best coverage and price for you, whether it's home, auto, business, you name it. Saturdays at Razorback Stadium or your everyday life, you want the protection you can count on. You can count on OZK Insurance with over 600 5-star Google reviews. Get a free online quote today or go to ozkinsurance.com or call 479-715-4200. It's OZK Insurance, protection made simple. So, Curtis, we move on to the wide receivers, and I got to say, man, it's uncanny how consistently the stats look the exact same for the wide receivers, where Omega Blake leads the way with 65, 70 yards. Maybe there's one other guy in that 30 to 40 range, and then it's a lot of 2 for 22 or not at the stat sheet at all for CJ Brown. It's like the same kind of formula each week. This week, of course, you have Omega Blake at 6 for 73. Raylan Sharp was the second leading receiver with 5 for 42. Of course, he also had a pretty big fumble that I feel like pretty much ended the game. Once that fumble and subsequent score happened, I was, the disappointment you feel with the running back room is kind of what I feel with receiver. Not that I had super high expectations, but it's like, man, you're just kind of begging anyone to step up and emerge, make themselves a threat outside of Omega Blake, who did, had some good games in here. They had some good plays in here. They targeted him a lot early. CJ Brown was not on the stat sheet at all. By the way, Jaylen Brown, we do not expect to see him anytime soon. Hope he recovers well. Thoughts and prayers going for the leg. Hate to see that, honestly, man. And good to see Andy Jean, by the way, who we had not seen all year, come in and catch a pass in garbage time. But I was very disappointed with this wide receiver room in this game. I just think big picture, when you look at the group, it's Omega Blake and just a bunch of guys outside of that. It's a bunch of Jags outside of him. And I was not impressed with their performance. I give them just a solid D.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And it's crazy. And they went out and got a dozen guys out of the portal, to add to this wide receiver room. And Ishmael Cece out for the year. Monty Harrison, they didn't get him out of the portal, but you know what I'm saying? But, probably out for the year. I saw him on the scooter, down there during the game. Now Jaylen Brown, he's going to be out for the year. That's a tib-fib fracture, I found out. I know we heard fibula at first, but then I listened to Sam Pittman. He said he broke both of those bones in there, so he's out for the year. That sucks, man. So some attrition there, and it's like the guys that they went out and got initially that they were hoping would be able to help them, or they're going to have to. Like Andy Jean, you mentioned him. He's going to have to step in and help them. Courtney Crutchfield, is he on the team? Is he not on the team? Like, is he going to play? What's going on there? Antonio Jordan, who we talked about so much during camp, and he had the high ankle, but now he's working his way back. Like, those guys are going to get opportunities because you have, a number of season-ending injuries there at the wide receiver room. Will any of them step up and, kind of emerge as another reliable weapon there alongside Omega Blake? I'm guessing not, because if they would have, they would have probably done it already, but we'll see. Yeah, I don't have a lot more to add to it than what you said, Andrew. Omega's been solid. He did have a drop in this game. Some killer stuff there. Like the first play, or excuse me, the first drive of the game, thought Arkansas was going to go down there and do their thing and get a touchdown like they typically do. And you had the Raylan Sharp drop there, and that was brutal. He had the fumble later that it was like pouring salt onto the wound at that point, but late there in the half. And, Notre Dame's able to capitalize. Those little things, they add up, man. They really do. And then when you're not making big plays on top of that to counteract it, I don't know what to tell you. What the tight ends? Did the tight ends do anything in this game?
You had Rohan Jones caught a 23-yard pass that I just don't remember. And full disclosure, I told you I stopped paying attention after about the 5-minute mark of the fourth quarter. I was like, all right, I'm out of here. Jaden Platt did have a big reception. I think that came fairly early, so that was when the game was still kind of up for grabs. Our boy Postgame did have that 8-yard reception, but again, like they're not the tight ends weren't bad or anything, but they've been a position group that's been like kind of consistently making some big plays. And I know you caught a couple passes late there, but nothing really to write home about. So they did not move the needle on my score too much.
Yeah, me either. D, that's fine. Fine for me.
Yeah. Moving on to the offensive line. So, the offensive line has faced we talk about formulas of what to expect. And with the receiver room, we kind of just know on paper what to expect. With the offensive line, it's been a familiar theme in terms of pass protection, really good. They don't really allow a ton of pressure. Run game, they have a lot of explosion like we talked about, but not a ton of consistency. And game to game, it usually ends up kind of working out. It's usually a formula with the offensive line that we can live with. I thought in this game, it was a pretty similar formula. Arkansas was just kind of slightly worse across the board. You run the ball for 5 yards a pop, and a lot of that, again, came on the one big Talon run and some scrambles late. So you finished with 158 rushing yards in the game. You throw the ball for 207, and you were allowed, let's see what we're looking at here. You allow 3 sacks, which has to be a season high. I can't imagine they've allowed 3 sacks the rest of the year.
I believe they had only allowed 3 all season coming into that.
Yeah, so there you go. And it really wasn't this thing where like all day long Talon was running for his life or anything like that. But I felt like once Notre Dame's defense settled into the game, anytime there was a down that was 3rd and 7, 3rd and 9, I felt like they were able to get in the backfield and kind of create some pressure, which we really, I got to be honest, just haven't seen a ton of this year. In this game, the offensive line was charged with allowing 10 pressures, I believe. 3 of those came from Marion Harris. 2 of those came from Corey Robinson. Arkansas had been so good on the tackles, kind of a little bit of a, I'd say the worst game of the year for Arkansas's offensive line overall, and those tackles in particular. They weren't horrible, and they certainly aren't like to blame for this game. I mean, hell, we're going to grade other position groups much harsher, I'm sure. But the offensive line, I don't think it's dramatic at all to say this is by far their worst game of the year. I'm having trouble seeing anything higher than D for them as well, Curtis.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly where I'm at here too. And you're right. Like if just looking at PFF overall, grading out the offense, it was their worst performance overall. Pass blocking by far their worst grade overall. And then run blocking. And by the way, they've been below average in 4 of the 5 games in run blocking this year. And this was a significant step below where they've been. So yeah, I mean, it's is what it is. Sometimes the numbers lie. In this case, they don't, because they match what we saw with the eye test as well. And, I'm with you. Like there are other position groups that I'm far more concerned about or mad at or whatever. But I kind of feel about the offensive line the same way I did about Talon Green, where just had a higher level of expectation based on some of the things they've been doing throughout the course of the season. And they didn't meet that standard on this game on Saturday. So D.
Yeah. And it does suck because like most weeks we're coming here and we're very, very harsh on the defense, but usually we have the offense to kind of soften us up where we're like, oh, B- here. Oh, B. Oh, this guy played well. And then when we get to the defense, that's when we really get into the thick of it. And so now we're about to get into the thick of it. And I feel like we didn't really soften it up at all. So now it's getting a little bleak here on the show. We're going to get to the defense in just a second, but of course, want to remind you guys, today's show is brought to you by Walter Christmas Lighting of Arkansas. We are doing a free, or go to InsideArkansas.com/ I guess we've already done that, haven't we? The whole giveaway thing. Yeah. But if you want the professional lighting in your neighborhood and you don't have the time or resources, let Walter Christmas Lighting of Arkansas hook you up. They'll provide all the materials, any color, any pattern. They'll come install the lights for you, offer free maintenance throughout the holiday season, and they'll come take it down for you in January. Really appreciate them for all they've done with us. If you don't believe us, just ask Curtis. Go check out his house with his cool Halloween decorations, and you can text our guy Brett for a free estimate at 479-459-1380. And if you sign up for your Halloween lights, you will get your Christmas lights for 50% off. You can also check out their website at walterchristmaslighting.com or like them on Facebook by scanning the QR code on your screen. It's Walter Christmas Lighting of Arkansas, your local holiday lighting experts. Where are we at here? Why did the background go away, Curtis?
I don't know. I still have it.
You still have it, so it's good for you? Okay.
Yeah.
I will just move on then. Going to the defensive line, Curtis, I feel like it's been, of course, like our problem child. It's been the most consistent group that we've criticized, kind of asked questions about. And so every time we grade them in these games, I kind of keep that in mind. We grade on a curve, which can go both ways. If we think you suck and you play decent football, we're going to grade you pretty well, And so we've kind of tried to keep that in mind, Curtis. And I feel like with the defensive line, they've been the beneficiary when we do our grading, because sometimes they'll just play an average game, but we're like, you know what? We thought this group was toast. So, I mean, we're kind of fine here. This was the type of game that preseason, when we had these conversations, we were worried about, that you were just going to have a game against a quarterback that you were not going to be able to fluster at all. You were not going to be able to get into the backfield and create some negative plays. Arkansas, they were charged. I'm seeing on stat broadcast there was a sack. I don't remember it. Let's see who they give that sack to. They gave it to Phillip Lee. And so I'll take their word for it. And so, Phillip Lee, maybe you're exempt from this one. PFF did not have Arkansas graded out well in terms of generating the pressure. Not much. I think Cam Ball was credited with 3 pressures on PFF, which is about what he does each week. And Cam Ball, I think a lot of people have been kind of disappointed with his lack of production. He has not gotten on the sack tally board yet this year. He was credited with 3 pressures. No other defensive lineman on the team was credited with more than 1. And there were only about 3 or 4 guys that even registered 1. So to say that Arkansas didn't get pressure on the quarterback consistently in this game would be an understatement. Run game-wise, I got to be honest, when I looked at the numbers, it wasn't quite as bad as I thought it was. Notre Dame runs the ball for 210 yards, a little over 5 yards a carry. It just kind of felt like they could move the ball at will against Arkansas, and that's what they did in this game. And I feel like the defensive line maybe wasn't the number one obvious culprit, but did not do anything to dispel that Notre Dame offensive rhythm. And I think that's the big thing that just stuck out to me is there just wasn't anything that Notre Dame had to worry about coming their way. They were able to just kind of sit back there and do their thing. How did you grade the defensive line performance?
F. I'm over it, man, with this entire defense. And I'll give credit to Phillip Lee where it's due. Like I feel like I saw him doing things, even if it led to a big play or not is a different conversation, but I just feel like I saw him out there, impacting plays more than I have in the past. So that's great. Wasn't Quincy Rhodes' best game. He's been so good for Arkansas. I think people are probably starting to realize that. So maybe he was getting a little bit of extra attention there. That's going to be part of the deal as you move forward throughout the course of the season. But I mean, listen, I thought that Arkansas might have a little bit better success in the pass rush because there have been games where they've been getting into the backfield, but we know that this team is like allergic to tackling, and they've been facing all these mobile quarterbacks. They've been struggling to get them on the ground. There's been some escapability things going on there. CJ Carr is not that guy, but he was clean, the entire game here for the most part. So there's that aspect of it. We mentioned the run defense, and yeah, like I saw the PFF grades and everything like that, but I'm with you. Like you watched that game, Notre Dame was doing whatever they wanted, and they called the dogs off in the second half.
100%.
And that goes with on their defense as well. We're talking about Arkansas and were they able to do this, able to do that, get anything going. And, it's not like Notre Dame was really having to dial it up with anything exotic or it's like whatever in the second half. And the whole fourth quarter was against backups. And it was the same thing here. So Love and Price did whatever they wanted to. They both had over 100 total yards. They combined for 6 damn touchdowns. I've just got nothing, in the tank here for this defensive line or this defense in general. I'm going F on the defensive line. It's a major problem. It has a trickle down. It's impacting, an already bad secondary, and I don't see a way for it to improve. I was holding out a little bit of hope, Andrew, of like, okay, well, maybe, just maybe we could have a situation here where, if David Oki can come back and he's healthy and he can be added into the rotation a little bit, then it'll take a little bit of pressure off of Cam Ball, and maybe he's not so worn out by the end of the game. Didn't matter. He played 31 snaps, and the defensive line's still bad. So it is what it is, man.
It is what it is. And it's funny about this, Curtis, and we've had this conversation a lot now. I feel like a broken record. this was yet another game, and we played 5 games this season. That's now 3 games that have not been 4-quarter games. And so we're having all these issues with the defensive line and the depth, and you just really need to give those guys a break. And it's not even like this was a game that was a back and forth, tough, knockdown, drag out, constantly having to push. Like, this was a game that was over by halftime virtually, and your defensive line had already kind of gotten behind the 8 ball. And so as we continue to move forward and the competition's not going to get any easier, it's just a massive, massive red flag that Arkansas is not able to get through a 4-quarter football game with their defensive line. Onto the linebackers, if you ask me, probably the least egregious performance in this game in terms of levels of the Razorback defense. I didn't think they were good at all. Perhaps not quite as bad and just dismissive as they were last week. I thought it was interesting that Bradley Shaw and Steven Dix played, I believe it was 39 and 38 snaps, respectively. They basically split the reps next to Xavier Sorey, who played, I believe, 62 I think he played all 62 snaps for Arkansas defensively, or all 72. I didn't think it was a horrible performance from the Arkansas linebackers, but definitely didn't do anything to slow down this Jeremiah Love rushing attack. What did you make of the captains of the Razorback defense and their performance?
F. Listen, man, this is just going to be my theme here for this defense. It was pathetic. It was embarrassing. You gave up 420 yards in the first half. If Notre Dame wanted to score 80 points and cash that Bet Saracen prop, they could have. If they wanted to get 1,000 yards in this football game, they could have. There's zero doubt in my mind that could have been the case there. Outside of the opening drive to begin the second half, I thought that this was a lifeless, effortless performance from the defense. And was Xavier Sorey maybe a little better than he was last week? Maybe, but I still saw him, mano a mano, meeting a guy in the hole multiple times and just, getting ran through there or getting juked out of his shoes. Something's just not right there. And so, hey, congratulations that they were a little bit better than they were against, a less talented Memphis team. I'm just over it with this group. There's one thing that pisses me off. You can be bad. You can have bad players or you can have a bad coach, whatever, but you can't have bad effort. And the jogging around out there, the lack of urgency, the body language, all that stuff there, it's really, really frustrating. And what gets me the most about it is they come out after halftime. You got the little sideline reporter and it's like, well, talk to Sam Pittman. It was a very emotional locker room at halftime, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And then they come out and show a little bit of fire for 5 plays to start the second half, and then they pack it back in for the rest of the game. I think it's despicable. I think it's pitiful. And it's a reason why I think a defensive coordinator should be fired. Because, again, bad players, whatever, can't figure out the schemes, can't get guys, whatever. But if they quit on you and they're not even playing hard for you, that's the bare minimum baseline of competing in a sport is playing hard and trying. Even if you're not going to do it for your teammates or your coaches, do it for yourself. Have a little bit of self-respect and some pride there. I'm just not seeing it out there. And so they say A for effort or whatever. Well, I'm giving F's for lack of effort. And the linebackers are included in that.
Yeah, and it goes back to what we felt preseason of. We kind of knew there were issues on the defensive line. Even the most optimistic of Razorback fans would kind of acknowledge, hey, defensive line maybe is a little bit of a question mark. But part of what they would have told themselves was, yeah, but you can supplement it with an experienced linebacker room. And Travis Williams, the defensive coordinator, he coaches the linebacker. So it's he'll have those guys ready. Xavier Sorey, ton of experience. Steven Dix, ton of experience. You like the young talent in the room. Not only are they not supplementing the defensive line, which early in the year when you were playing cans, they were getting to the quarterback at least, would occasionally help out in the pass rush department. They have stopped doing that. They have been a complete non-factor there. I don't believe any of them were credited with even pressures, let alone sacks in this game. And not only are they not supplementing and hiding Arkansas's weakness, we started to see opponents, some of the best play callers, Ole Miss really took advantage of this, targeting Arkansas's linebackers. You mentioned those one-on-ones, meeting guys in the holes. Teams are going out of their way to find those one-on-ones. And I mentioned Bradley Shaw, who I've actually early in the year I was impressed with him and kind of was good. It was good to see him working his way onto the field. Notre Dame on him a little bit, and they got him out in space with Jeremiah Love, put him in some one-on-one matchups in the passing game, and that's one thing that's been consistent all year. I don't know if a quarterback has thrown a pass to a receiver that is covered by a linebacker this year and had that pass not be completed, literally all year. Actually, that's a lie, because they threw an interception right at Xavier Sorey, which he did not catch in this game, which was a little bit disappointing. I'm with you. So I'm actually, for defensive line and linebackers, I went F plus, Curtis.
There we go.
Because I didn't know what our rules were in terms of how many Fs we can give out, how many
The
A's
rules
we
are
can
out
give
the
out.
window today.
Yeah, well, they're all out the window today. I'm saving my bona fide F minus FFFF for the secondary, which are our final position group to dissect here. I mean, it's a rough one, man. I mean, you have a freshman quarterback who, by the way, preseason, when we talked about this game, Curtis, do you remember what part of the argument was? As well, Arkansas has a senior in Taylon Green, and Notre Dame has a freshman in CJ Carr, and that experience. And, he wasn't named the starter until like the last week of camp. That was like a huge premise for why a lot of Hog fans circled this game preseason and felt, hey, this might be a game. We get this into a shootout. And I think that's one thing that I've always felt is that if Arkansas is in a shootout, I still feel confident because they have Taylon Green. This is the type of game in a shootout I wouldn't have felt confident because they had CJ Carr looking like Lloyd Carr, honestly, looking like is that his grandpa? Is that his uncle? What do we determine on CJ Carr's lineage? he comes from a football family. Let's just say that. But had an unreal day, 22 of 30, 354 yards, 4 touchdowns. And you mentioned them calling off the dogs. I thought for sure with CJ Carr, I mean, what he had 300 yards at halftime, they could have easily ran this sucker up. After that fake punt, Marcus Freeman felt a little bit bad. He diced it around. Any incompletion was not caused by a Razorback defender. You get Kenai Walker back, which it is good to see him healthy and out there. It did not make a huge difference in the secondary. You look at the PFF numbers, pretty much every single player in the secondary was targeted at least 3 or 4 times, gave up 3 or 4 receptions for at least 50 yards, most of them around 80. This is not a point out one person, they suck. This is not a, this is a schematic matchup issue or, it was a communication, although, of course, we saw a little bit of that. When it's this bad, it's all of the above. It's the communication, it's the talent, it's the coaching, it's the chemistry, it's the want to, it's the, just will to win. None of that was there for Arkansas, and I thought the secondary, I thought this was their worst performance in what has been a very bad year, man. We've seen some really bad Razorback secondaries in the last decade, Curtis. Hell, last year's secondary was really bad. The 2019 secondary, which had Cam Curl, still struggled a lot. This is becoming, I mean, they were the worst pass defense in the country in 2022. They are right in line with that, man, and this group is struggling.
It's crazy because when they play man coverage, even if they're in position, they don't have the type of dudes to make plays.
Yeah,
they just don't. And that's why teams keep picking on them with those deep fades or whatever. They get one-on-one matchups. They're just throwing it up there because they're not worried about it. And then when you go zone, they have no idea what they're doing. They have zero clue whatsoever what they're doing out there. And that was evidenced multiple times in this game with guys just running wide open. And you got 2 Razorbacks sitting there pointing at each other like the Spider-Man meme. Okay, was it me? Was it you? What's going on here? Oh, it's nobody. And it's another touchdown. They can't tackle. They can't cover. They can't help each other out in zone. It's a helpless situation back there. And I hate it. And, I would like to say, I don't mean to sound harsh. Well, I do, because it's been the entire season and it's not getting any better. It's a complete mess back there. And shout out to Julian Neal. I think Julian Neal is a good football player. I do. And I think he's had some bright spots and good moments back there. But the rest of it's just been brutal. And it's also a big proponent of some of the effort issues that Arkansas has back there, including a returner and a senior that a lot of people were really, really excited about, thinking he was going to take this next step and be an all-SEC player. He's not even trying. He's not playing hard out there. So, again, man, I don't understand the disconnect with this defense. I don't know what's happened. The fall from grace for Travis Williams should be studied. Like this time a year ago, everybody in this state was clamoring for make that man the head coach in waiting because we're not going to be able to keep him otherwise. To if he still has a job going into this Tennessee game, I'll be stunned. And I think the only pathway to it is what you mentioned on the postgame show Saturday, Andrew, is, well, who the hell will call the defense then? What move do you make there? That's the only pathway I see, because this is when you're ineffective and the numbers bear it out. And every week you say, well, we're trying to simplify this, or we're trying to change that, or whatever. Nothing you do works. And your guys aren't playing hard for you. What are we doing here? And I hate that, because I love T. Will, man. I love his energy. And he's the kind of guy that I think Arkansas needs, which is, very energetic, resonates with the players, just brings a level of juice that I appreciate. But like, it's not being reciprocated from his players out there on the field at this point. Something ain't right in there. I don't know what it is, but it's crazy. And the secondary, I think, is the most glaring example of that. Was very, very disappointed in what we saw from Arkansas back there, but not surprised because it's what we've been getting all season. But yeah, F for me too. F's across the board for me on defense.
Yeah, just unanimous Fs. It's tough because, again, Razorback fans will always, and really all sports fans in general, you always want to look for like the one thing you can blame it. I think that's why, I'm not gonna turn this into a Hudson Clark rant. One of the main reasons why Hudson Clark consistently got shit on social media and people would get so hard on him is because it was easy. It made fans feel better to say, oh, we're not a bad football team. We just have this white corner that sucks. And so we're going to yell at him and say, oh, he sucks and all that. I think we've all kind of learned over the years. And if you've listened to us, we've kind of said, hey, y'all are making to quote Sam Pittman, you're making a mountain out of a molehill. You're taking this non-polarizing guy and trying to blame all the issues on him because it's easier for you as a fan to say, no, my defensive coordinator is a genius. My head coach is a genius. This one player just isn't good. And so that's we can wipe that away. And that's kind of the theme of the Sam Pittman era is you find one thing to blame everything on, and then you can move forward and say, well, we cleaned up that issue. We're all good. In the Ole Miss game, oh, we had some communication issues. Okay, so we simplified things. We were better in the second half. Now let's move forward. Okay, clearly that wasn't the thing. And I think a lot of fans, and we've seen comments all week that have been like, how can the defensive depth chart not be changing? You're playing such bad football. Why are there not changes? Why are you not firing this guy? Why are you not benching this guy? Why are you not doing whatever? And I just ask you guys, the fans, what player is it you think, whether it's on the two deep or just a freshman that we haven't seen, what player do you think this coaching staff is like hiding from us that is actually the answer to all of the issues? Because you look at it and you could say, hey, Kenai Walker didn't have a great game in his return. All right, let's bench him. What are you going to do? You're going to play Selman Bridges, a redshirt freshman who is buried on the depth chart that has not played a collegiate football game yet, has never played an SEC snap. Is it going to be Keyshawn Davila, who you have seen and you have not liked what you've seen, was supposed to be a big JUCO corner for you, like too small, hasn't really been able to play for you? Is that the answer at safety? You mentioned Larry Worth. You mentioned Miguel Mitchell. Yeah, maybe you say, okay, we need to give someone else a shot. Is it going to be Quintavious Scandrett, who's a fifth-year senior that they haven't even pretended to want to play? There's been several opportunities, have not gotten him in any of those games. Maybe you bench Jordan Young and you put in Shakur Smalls. I saw him in there a good bit. I don't think there's some obvious, if we just bench this guy, everything will be fine schematically. I also don't think there's anything like, we're running this zone coverage. Let's switch to man. Because like you said, they've kind of gone back and forth, and the common denominator has been whether you're in man coverage or not, teams know exactly where to go with the football. They know exactly where they're advantageous at, and it doesn't seem to matter we've seen some guys shuffle in and out. The defensive line, same kind of story. Everyone's like, oh, yeah, the defensive depth chart's got to change. Who is it that's not on the depth chart that you guys think is like going to step in here and like that's just been the thing that they've been missing? They've been missing a freshman Reginald Vaughn on the defensive line. That's what it is. You need to get that freshman from Texas in there, and now we're going to have a good defensive line. And that's what's so concerning to me about these issues that we talk about is like, obviously as a football coach, you're always going to be tinkering. You're always going to be going back to the film room, going back to the drawing board, trying to find your weaknesses and trying to find your opponent's weaknesses, see if you can exploit that. I just don't think there's like a solution here in place. And you mentioned if you fire Travis Williams, which everyone seems to believe is happening, and I'm with you. Like I think it's very possible that the next time Arkansas football plays, they have a different guy calling plays defensively. But to your point, who's that going to be? I mean, Marcus Woodson is the guy that preseason, you talk to him, he's a very impressive guy, well-spoken, like seems
he's the code, right?
But then it's like we literally just gave the secondary an F minus. And we've all agreed it's been one of the worst secondaries last year. They had one of the worst secondaries in college football. This year, they have the worst secondary in college football. So it's like, as much as I love Marcus Woodson and love his energy, is that the solution? Is giving him the defensive play calling duties? Maybe it is. We'll see how that works. Deke Adams, your most experienced coach. He's been fired at 2 SEC schools, going to get fired at a 3rd SEC school here soon. Like Travis Williams is your linebacker coach. He's the one calling the plays right now. It's like, it doesn't seem to like, I just don't think, and I think Hog fans, it's easy to contextualize and say, well, we wouldn't suck if blank. If we change this, we're going to be fine. And I think when you look at this defense, is it a talent issue? Yes. Is it a scheme issue? Yes. Is it an effort issue? Yes. Is it a communication issue? Yes. And so it's like perhaps there is just one move here that Arkansas can make and will clean up all these issues. I am just very skeptical that it exists, and I'm getting more and more skeptical as the year goes on. I'm not feeling better about the situation as time moves on. Did you have anything else on the defense, or did we effectively eviscerate them, Curtis? Do we have anything before we move on to special teams and get into our post-game accountability? Do you have anything else to add on the defense specifically?
Well, I just wanted to look real quick and see where this was at. Arkansas in total defense, they rank 118th in the country at this point. So that's not good. Giving up 425 yards per game. Let me just pull it up because I just want to contextualize this a little bit with numbers, and these include the cans that you played early in the season. Scoring defense, Arkansas is dead last, allowing 30 points per game.
Is that nationally?
In the SEC.
Okay, I was like, wow.
Arkansas is dead last in rushing defense in the SEC, allowing 168 yards per game. Arkansas is not dead last in passing defense.
Hell yeah.
They're 15th. They're giving up 257 yards per game, and Tennessee is giving up 259.2. So so go ahead and convince yourselves that Arkansas is going to go to Knoxville and beat Tennessee now because their pass defense sucks.
Yeah, which that is a reference to the fact that we literally just did that with Notre Dame. Notre Dame's pass defense improved in the rankings, I would imagine, after Saturday's game.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, again, whatever case you want to make, whether that's numbers, whether that's on paper, looking at the talent, whether that's just looking at the production of these guys, big picture, anything on the coaching staff, I think that's the most horrifying part is that there's really not an optimistic lens to view it through. There's not a case to be made that there is anything other than just complete dysfunction and guys quitting on the field.
Yeah. Yep.
It's a tough one. Moving on to special teams real quick. There wasn't a ton for us to dissect in this game, although of course you had the big fake punt, which I don't know if we're, how we grade that out. Scott Starzik made his only field goal attempt. What did Devin Bale end up with in the punting department? Let's see. Devin Bale ends up punting twice for 90 yards. How did Arkansas only punt twice? I guess they went for it on fourth down a good bit. Had a field goal there. Had two field goals, I guess. Scott Starzik made his two field goals, I should clarify.
An interception, a fumble.
Yeah. I guess you added up. That's not a ton of punts.
Yeah.
Special teams wise, I mean, probably the best grade on the team, frankly.
Yeah, I'm going F. I mean, you gave up like a 50-yard fake punt. You also, if it wasn't for Devin Bell being a Houdini, you absolutely should have had a punt blocked because it's just a complete whiff of an open rusher there. I'm giving him an F, man. Sorry.
I'm trying to think of what my realistic.
You just lost 56-13 at home. I've got nothing for these guys, man.
I got you. I'll give him a D minus.
Okay.
Give us a D minus. Which, by the way, did Notre Dame punt in this game?
No.
Not one single punt.
Let's do this real quick because it's fun. Notre Dame drive chart. Touchdown, 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 touchdown. They had one turnover on downs in this football game.
Yeesh.
The one turnover on downs in the first drive of the second half is what it was. 10 drives, 8 touchdowns. They put a knee on it there at the very end of the game. So that's where you're at.
Yeah, that's a tough one, man. And
they had scoring drives. This is crazy. They had scoring drives of 35 seconds, 9 seconds, and 1 minute and 1 second in this game. And then they had scoring drives of 8 minutes, 16 seconds, 8 minutes, 26 seconds, 8 minutes, 54 seconds. They just did it any way they wanted to.
Yeah. I mean, that's just eating the clock, man. Jeez.
Oh, man.
Yeah, did it quick, did it fast, did everything in between, man. That's tough. Well, in terms of our grading, that completes the grading portion of this thing. We'll quickly run through our accountability session, but I got to be honest, not a ton of stunning developments to dissect here. But before we do that, of course, want to remind everyone about Go Lab Red at Fayetteville, your new Arkansas hangout. Go Lab Red is the place to be for Razorback pre- and post-game. Stop by Oak Plaza on North Garland and get you some of the best brews and burgers around. Sip on signature Goat Lab brews like Razorback, Tusk, and Tusk Light. Grab a signature burger. And then on Sundays, which is today, You can have all you can eat pancakes with your choice of 2 Goat Lab brews or 2 mimosas for just $16. Really cool spot. Appreciate them for all they do for us. We will see you at Saturday at Goat Lab Red, your new Razorback game day tradition. Am I correct, Curtis, in thinking that we will be at Goat Lab Red Friday?
We will. Friday at 6 p.m.
for pregame pod at the Palace to preview primetime at the Palace.
There we go.
You like that? I know that's not what your thing is, but
nailed it.
Whatever. Well, Curtis, it's not going to take me long to do this. I'm just going to run through our quick challenges real quick for the entire group. So we offered a group challenge, which was don't let go of the rope, which was don't quit on your team. Don't make it clear that you don't want to be here. Curtis challenged Taylor Green to be the guy who wins you the game. Don't just be the guy to threaten, be the guy who's dangerous, be the guy who can win you the game. Really show us that he's a different guy than he was last year. John says Xavier Sorry bounced back. Xavier Sorry, I guess technically bounced back, but it definitely, I'm not going to qualify that as a challenge accepted. What did he finish with stats-wise? Did he, what did he do tackle-wise? So he finished with, where is he at? He had 5 tackles, broke up a pass, which was a dropped interception. I'm not going to count that as a bounce back. Had he caught that interception, I maybe could have accepted it. And then my challenge was for Cam Ball to make a play. And he did. He was credited with 4 tackles, but I'm not going to qualify that as making a play. It turns out the guy who has 3 career sacks in 5 years is not going to be good enough to carry this Razorback defensive line that does not have any depth behind him. I feel like that's a unanimous just not answering of the challenge, which I got to be honest, doesn't really happen often.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's it's crazy that we had nothing going there. But it makes sense in hindsight. Like, if you look at the final result there, yeah, there you have it.
I mean, that's just how it works. And the challenges, it's tough for us. We can't get old takes exposed on the challenges because we're literally just asking guys to step up, and then it's up to them whether or not they do. And of course, they all said no collectively today. Our bold predictions, I guess you can old takes expose us on, although of course they are bold. John had an Arkansas special teams trick play, which of course we did not get the Arkansas special teams trick play, but we did get a special teams trick play. So I'm inclined to give John like a half of a victory there. I had Arkansas winning the turnover battle, which they very much did not do, nor did they come close to. And Curtis had Braylon Russell leading the team in rushing, and I think that went out the window when he dropped that pass on the opening drive. Because as we've learned, if Braylon Russell makes a mistake, you got to bench him for the rest of the game, and that was the case in this one as well. So our bold predictions, we go over on those as well.
Yeah, rough day at the office all around.
Well, if it makes you feel better, Curtis, we also did not hit our Bet SARACEN props. By the way, you were close. You were close because you had the over 1.5 sacks for each team, which, frankly, I'd make that bet 10 times out of 10. Arkansas finishes with 1, so you were 1 sack shy. But, man, I feel like you just got to mess. I mean, they drop back to pass 32 times.
Yeah.
You got to get in the backfield twice, man.
With the quarterback on stilts. Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, seriously. John's prop was the Taylor Green over 2.5 passing touchdowns, over a half rushing touchdown, of course, did not hit. And I had the over 1.5 interceptions. Score prediction wise, I had Arkansas losing 37-31. John had Arkansas losing 41-33. You were the closest by far with our score prediction because you had Notre Dame winning 45-28. So you picked a 17-point loss at home, which was more than 4 times what the spread was.
Yeah.
And you were still you gave the Razorbacks way too much credit.
my salvation for the day over at Bet SARACEN was coupling the over in the game and the Notre Dame cover. I just felt like that was a lock, dead red, no brainer, and it turns out that it was. But yeah, everything else rough.
I feel like Vegas has to just start setting these over unders for Arkansas at like 75. Like just start there and then maybe move from there. But it's crazy how consistently the overs have been hitting in these games.
I know. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Well, Curtis, I feel like we've contextualized this game as much as we can. You know, this is yet another throw the film away type of game. And thankfully, after this, we are done talking about it. At least I hope. Maybe we're still going to be talking about a few things here and there, but for the most part, I feel like we can put a pin in this game, put a bow on this one. But coming out of the Notre Dame game after a day. We'll see what kind of changes are made big picture. Hell, this might be the first of many videos we do later today. We might be working a little bit later in the afternoon, hopefully. Do you have anything else to say, or do you want to save it for our subsequent live stream potentially?
No, that was pretty much it. Just, if you're not subscribed yet to the YouTube channel, make sure that you do that and turn the notifications on. That way, if we post a new video, or if we go live, because there's breaking news, you'll be notified as soon as that happens, because that's kind of what we're waiting on to see if anything goes down on that front. But yeah, I mean, usually as we wrap up here, it's like yeah, Razorback fans, it's hard, but you love your Hogs and hang in there and it'll get better. Nah, just be pissed off if you want to be pissed off, man. I get it. I'm not gonna try to convince you to feel otherwise. Not today. That's not the move. So maybe, just maybe, we'll see you later today. That's all I got.
You know that? You know that meme, Curtis, of the two old people sitting there, and it's the old man and he's holding the umbrella over his wife, and it's like, just because I'm angry doesn't mean I stopped caring. That's how I feel today. Just because I'm angry, and you're right, I am angry. You guys should be angry too. We don't stop caring, and that's why we keep coming back here and doing this content. That's why you guys keep coming back, because even though you wish you didn't, you do care, and you do love the pig, and you get sad when the pig does bad, and you get happy when the pig does good. And all we can do is push forward and hope for better days. But Curtis is 100% right. Do not let anyone tell you that you should not be allowed to be upset or be angry. In fact, you would be crazy if you were not a little bit rubbed the wrong way by what happened Saturday. So we're going to get out of here, and we are going to move on to hopefully bigger and better things in our lives. But appreciate you guys with us for kicking it with our post game, which is super successful last night, and tapping in with all of our post game coverage. And it's been another productive edition of the Report Card Accountability Session. We will be back at some point, whether that's tomorrow at Inside Arkansas Live or later today. We're reacting to an announcement, and we hope you guys will continue to join us. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. We're Inside Arkansas. We are out.